Hi guys, and welcome to my first tutorial. I'm gonna show you how I created this image in World Creator. On the Discord server from World Creator I showed you several images where you could give your votes on what image I should make a tutorial, and that one took the first place, so we're gonna do that image. So let's go into World Creator. I usually use fast render for my editing process. Then I'm gonna do a 2K map so I have more resolution to work with. And after that, for the mountains, I will go to sculpting and do the mountains by myself. It's way easier and I have full control over my mountains. For the sculpting I use 256 resolution. In this one I will use with the brush with the dots on it, so we can recreate these mountain peaks. Just painting on the edge of the map with a reduced strength. And with the basic brush I'm gonna increase the mountains, just give it some transition from the foreground to the background. Then I will set up my camera with wide lens, like shown in the image at the beginning. And then we have the foreground, some basic hills, I guess, just adding something in the foreground, then saving the camera again and going back to the global resolution, global strength, increasing it to 0.6. And for the first filter I'm gonna use the ridge flows. That will give me some nice mountain shapes, and it's a bit too high, so I reduce it with the flatten filter. With that one I have the full control over the height of the mountains. For the second filter I go with something that adds more detail, like rocky white, which will give me more cliffs and rocks that will go out of the mountain, if that makes any sense. And what we now see is we got some holes, some harsh cliffs around the peaks, and that doesn't look that great, so we're gonna correct it in sculpting. For that one I deselect filters so I can work faster, and just painting over the map and reducing the holes, just filling them. That sounds kind of weird, but never mind. Yeah. Now I'm going to increase the general strength of the erosion filter, just testing around some settings, which looks best for me. Usually I do not work too much with the details on filters. Always checking the camera if it looks good. For the next filter I use white flows with the preset strong soft and on a low strength, so we get a bit more detail in the mountain. Now I'm going to the render settings, changing the lighting, the sun, that I have a good point of view to just check if the mountain looks okay. Playing around with the flatten filter, increasing, decreasing, just that it looks good for the eye. Now I'm gonna use simulation layers, just with a spawn amount of 1, that it doesn't take away too much of the mountain. Starting with materials, just a basic green color, and then adding the dirt. The distribution will be cavity with setting convex, so it goes like on top of the small hills, and gonna increase the strength and reduce the threshold, so it's a smoother transition from the dirt to the grass. That looks okay. And after the dirt we're gonna go with the rock layer. That will be a gray color, and for almost every render I do, I use the roughness distribution and reducing the strength to almost 0. By turning on the heat map, you will see the places where the rock will cover. Then we will use the next color, that will be dirt flows. For the color itself, it will be something brownish again, just a little darker, and use flow, the flow map. Also here, increasing the strength and taking a look at the heat map. Now we're going to use 2 layers for the snow, using the first with the slope distribution. It's going to increase the amount or the range that it looks like a snowy mountain, but now we have all the foreground covered, so we're gonna use an additional distribution height, giving snow to the upper half of the mountain. For the height, that we don't have this fine line, we're going to use distortion, and the scale reducing to almost 0, so we have these nice waves on the line, so it looks way more natural. While I'm working in 1 meter, I'm going with precision up to 1/4 to just check if everything looks fine. And how I see here, the simulation layer just destroys my snow, my first snow layer, so I'm gonna turn it off and gonna play with the settings on the height till it looks okay. Now I go to the second snow layer, which I use cavity and concave, and tweaking some settings, also adding the height filter or distribution to do the same with the first snow map. Now I'm going to use a Berlin noise filter that will give me some random spots where the second snow layer is visible. That should add more realism to the whole image. Playing around with the cavity, going up with the precision just to check if it looks okay. Looks a bit too big for me, so I'm going to reduce the step size. Going back to the camera, setting on the second snow layer, and that looks pretty good in my opinion. Going to the weather, I'm gonna reduce the scale of the clouds, go play with some other settings like the skylight factor, weather scale, and the density, so we have a natural looking sky, adding a bit of atmosphere and scaling the atmosphere down. So I think we have a pretty good match to the reference image. One thing to mention is that the reference image looks a bit better in my opinion. That's because I used textures, and in this file I just used colors. But what you can do is just change the color material to a texture material and use textures from wherever you want, and that will increase the quality of your image a lot. Thank you guys for watching, and how I said, it's my first tutorial. It's kind of weird to speak into my headset being all alone in my computer chair talking to you guys, but I hope you liked it. You could learn something. It's not the most advanced world creator tutorial, it's a rather simple image to recreate, but yeah, I still hope you learned something. Please tell me if I can do anything better, or if I have to go into something you would like to see.